Welcome back. In this video we'll be tackling this larch Larix laricina, American larch tamarack. This is a tree that has been collected in 2016. 2 or 3 years ago I repotted it first in this pot. It's a very complex tree, so when I repotted it, this was the best I could come up with. This branch was entirely straight, and you can see here I did a wedge cut. The wedge cut is completely closed now, but this will always be a point of weakness in the tree. As I did the wedge cut and I applied force to close, so the wedge cut is a V-shape cut and you apply force to the branch to close it. The V shape was underneath, and so I applied force. As I applied the force to close this section with this section, the majority, although I managed to close it here, and there is a slight change of maybe 10 or 15 degrees here, the majority of the bend happened here because of the force involved. And so I figured that actually the wedge cut was an unnecessary risk that I took with this tree. Had I killed the tree with a wedge cut, I would be left with nothing because all the foliage emanates past this point. Luckily, larch being a deciduous conifer, a high water mobility tree, the wedge cut did succeed because the healing was fast. But now as I look into this tree, I see new opportunities. So let's talk about styling and opportunities. When I styled this tree after the wedge cut, I came up with the idea of a triple apex design, one apex here, one apex here, and the last apex, which is somehow hidden for now, here in the back. The reason for this design was to maximize the vision of the width of this root flare, and to hide this very ugly branch here, which is thin, and then you have this knuckle which is big and then thin again. So there is an impression of inverse taper because of this knuckle. Now that I look at it more objectively, after an initial styling, you start to see things with more clarity. Now, this tree is an old tree. It's estimated to be 250 years old. So we try to manipulate as least as possible. But as I look at this tree now, I see new opportunities, and what I regarded as a major flaw that I wanted to hide, this knuckle and that thin branch here, I now don't care so much, and I am a bit sad that when I style this, I miss the opportunity to maximize the amount of movement that gets hidden here, and including a very nice shadi here that gets hidden when you look at the tree from this area. The shadi is still somewhat visible, but more than that, there are also certain defects in the styling that I oversaw, and this is a problem that I will have to deal with. Specifically, here we can see that I have two branches coming out from the same place, and then the continuation of the trunk. This is a point which will favor inverse taper as it grows and develops. So ideally, I would remove one of these. As it stands now with that design, I think both are very important, Both have a lot of ramification already. So this is one point which I rather make a decision today between which of these three will go out. And another point where I have the same dilemma is here between these two branches. These two here, let me see how I can film this. These two branches here are coming out in slightly different positions, but these two are in the same position, so one of these two have to go. There aren't many other places where I can see, but as we regard the presence of more than two branches emanating from the same spot is an issue that you can temporarily leave on a tree for health or aesthetic reasons, as for example was here the case. Health wise, it wouldn't matter if I had removed this is a deciduous conifer, but for aesthetic reasons, had I removed all that, I wouldn't have done a pleasing style last year. But now, since we are going to change everything, I can restyle this tree, take advantage of showing more of the movement that is being hidden for now, and try to fix the flaws. One possibility is to tilt the tree in this direction, somewhere like this, taking care of not masking all the movement that exists in this branch. This design allows me to maximize the base, show all this movement. We'll have to bring up these branches, of course, and this branch here is hiding all the interest here in the trunk, this branch here. So what I will do is remove this one here, bring this one up to take the place of this, to fill this area. And so I kill two rabbits with the same shot. I will show the area of interest. I will remove the flaw, keep this one that it's important to cover this negative space. We will do this bend before I cut this, such that if this breaks, we may remove the entire thing here and then bring this one to the front. I don't know, we will see. One more thing to mention about deciduous, and larch included as a deciduous, is that you can restyle and repot at the same time. Of course, everything is relative. It depends how severe a repot it is, how severe a style it is. Even on trees that we would normally say no to restyling and repotting, if it's a light repot of established tree, it doesn't matter. If it's a light restyling, even if it's a severe repot, it doesn't matter much. But a severe repot and a severe restyling is not very good for many species, but this is not the case for deciduous species, larch included. So I decided to probe if this was bendable at all, and it is. So before I remove any wires here, I will actually show you what I'm doing with this bend. As I mentioned, I was going to try to bend this from down here up to take this area before I cut this, because if I break this branch and I cannot use it anymore, then I may need to use this and remove the other one, for example. So as you can see here, the wire is going clockwise, and so I'm performing the bend up and rotating around at the same time. Let me try to film this at the same time as I do. It's a bit complicated to make such a move at the same time as I film, as I'm doing this alone, but we're speaking about this branch here. As I bend up, I also twist. And and I see that I will have no issue bending it further, so I will straight now come cut the wire that was holding that section of the trunk. And I will just cut that. I'm using my concave branch cutter, and that is it, an entire thing gone. The first flaw was taken care of. It's sad to get rid of a whole thing like this. So now we have additional movement here. We continue having our second apex. This branch here I have to envision so that it's not competing so much with that, and I have a clear hierarchy. We have this branch here in the back, which was the original front, and I will turn it around to occupy this space, to cover this negative space here. So this will be an easy turn this way, and this branch here needs to come here to frame this gin. So let's do this now carefully. Again, I'm twisting and bending at the same time. So I'm positioning my hands carefully. Let me bend this a little bit out of the way. Carefully. As I do so, I'm actually adding more movement to this branch, which is great. This branch here can come now. And as you can see, I'm still using last year's wire because it's still functional. I still have to prune a lot of things here. Now let's bend this one here. This is very hard to make a harsh bend, and I still want to keep this occupying this space as a back branch. So I want my bend to be past this junction, but this junction is the place that is more likely to break. So I have to be very careful and apply force past this bend only. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, rotating as I bend. So instead of being here, now we're here. But I still want to bring it here, not to be covered by this part of the tree. So we are almost in the right place. As it stands now, these two branches that come out from the same place, they appear as if they were a T-bar, a handlebar coming from the same position in the trunk here. So I will try to lower this a little more and make it hidden by the trunk. So that it appears less ugly to the eye. Now with the front more or less here, they appear to be from completely different positions, as if they were growing in this trunk, but they are not. They are actually an intersection from the same one. So now what was a T-bar, it no longer is. It's a side branch and a trunk that goes down and out. So this is one way of solving a T-bar problem with two objectives. One, as if the two branches appear to come from different positions in the trunk, one here and one here. And at the same time, even when you look from this side, this is no longer a very obtuse angle instead of an acute one, but instead it's a side branch and a continuation of the trunk. A week has passed and I'm back working on this larch. Luckily it still didn't wake up, and I am rewiring the apex in this area. This area we worked already, and so now I'm bending this. I'm bending this one, and I need to bring it here. So let's move it slowly. For now I only have wired one branch, this one with this one, and so we will see if it's enough. I bend here on the base until I see the bark starting to open, and that was enough. So now I move forward and I will bring down a little bit and forward again. So now we have a connection between this area and this area, and the question is where I put this branch here. I don't want it on top here, so I think in fact I will bring this out a little bit, and now I have this branch here on the outside of the curve, and I will now start taking this in that direction. I want the movement of all the branches to be consistent with each other. Oops, I heard something. Everything is okay. This is a bit boring in terms of movement. This is a little better. Now this will come here. Let me move this further. This will come here. Essentially all the branches will turn counterclockwise. Okay, so I finished the styling and I was looking at it, trying to take pictures of it, and that C here was bothering me too much, and I decided, you know what, let's get rid of the branch. And now I feel I did a slight rearrangement, a little more natural lines. There is still some movement here, so these are the two branches that are left, and so here is the apex, and this is more of, now the way it is, I would say the defining branch is this one here as it stands, as opposed to that one. And so we have a more harmonious design, I would say. It's very, it has a very oriental feeling to me, with all this crazy movement. It almost feels like a penjing to me. It feels very Chinese. This region here, which is now directly connected to here, so it will feel as a single tree now, no longer multiple apeces. And we will revisit it in the future, but now I'm much happier with the feel of it. Let me give you a 360. So this is the new proposed front, where we see all the movement here, and the old front was here somewhere, somewhat. It still looks good from this position. From this position it does look like it has two apices. So I'm happy that it works from both directions. But from here I was putting a lot of focus on this bend here and this slight angle and this elbow, but I was losing a lot of what's going on in the rest of the tree. So again, this is the new angle somehow, maybe a little more, and the 360. These trees, we try to maximize movement, but sometimes too much movement also makes things a lot more complicated. This to me looks like looks very, very Chinese to me. I'm happy with the simplification here that looks more natural now, and we will see how it develops in the future. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, bye bye for now.